The Bitcoin floodgates just opened. To who, you may ask? The 90 million clients and customers of one JPMorgan, led by Bitcoin's biggest fan, Jamie Dimon, who's had nothing but good things to say about Bitcoin historically. It's his favorite asset class. He loves it and loves talking about it. Yeah, we know Jamie Dimon doesn't love Bitcoin very much, but his 90 million customers probably will. We're going to discuss that and everything else happening in the market with Andrew Parish and Paget Stanco from Gemini. Tillman has ghosted us once again. No, it's his kid's birthday, so we're letting him do that. But either way, we can now make fun of him, which is great. See you guys in a minute.
Let's go.
What's up, everybody? I am Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of All Streets. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. That literally doesn't work. It's such a habitual thing for me to say it, but you're all indifferent. It sounds stupid. I'm going to stop saying it. Remind me tomorrow that I'm going to stop saying that. I'm just going to start talking at the beginning of the show because I have amazing guests like Paget and Andrew to talk to. It's dumb. I don't know. I say it every day. Every YouTuber, I think, has a thing that just becomes habitual. Like, I'm George, you're George, we're all George and stuff. But mine's dumb.
I think you gotta throw it in the middle, Scott. Different cadence.
Oh,
Random
maybe that's
interjection.
it. I need to more emphasis on a different syllable or something.
By the way, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Tillman, who is not here because it's his first child's birthday, Mary Lane. Something that people don't know about Mary Lane, she is like the number 2 or 3 rated in her class pickleball player, like in the entire United States.
Yeah, she pickleballs her face off.
So yeah. She is fantastic. She's awesome. And just going to give a shout out to her. Happy birthday. Well done, Tillman, taking the day with family. And she's a pickleball star. So very cool.
Baller, if you will.
That's right. Indeed.
Happy birthday, Mary Lane.
That's right.
Happy birthday to Mary Lane. See, now he's going to have to show her this.
That's right.
And
That's right. That's
great.
right.
This is the best thing that probably happened to her all day. I would imagine getting a happy birthday from Andrew. But hey, let's talk about the news because I brought it up. We'll start here. JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon says the bank will let clients buy Bitcoin. Thanks, Dad. Obviously, finally, he's going to let you get 45 minutes on the iPad instead of 30 minutes, it sounds like. But yes, Jamie Dimon, longtime hater, king of the haters, in fact, is going to follow in the footsteps of his competitors, especially Morgan Stanley, who made a similar announcement just a few months ago, and allow all of their clients access to Bitcoin. I think before, correct me if I'm wrong, but their wealthiest clients had access already. So I think it was above 2 million portfolio. There was some benchmark that you were allowed to maybe call them and think about asking permission. But now you can get it. They're not going to custody it, and I'm pretty sure it's still just ETFs, but still a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's watch what they do, not what they say, right? So JPMorgan is making plenty of money on the authorized participant side as they've got their hands and fingers associated with the Bitcoin ETFs. They're an AP on BlackRock's ETF with just past 65 billion in AUM, which is extraordinary. So again, here's the thing: JPMorgan has been making money on Bitcoin for more than a year, and now, hey, we'll let our retail clients have access to it. Now, you're right. Inside the JPMorgan world, from a wealth management side, there's 2 different types of wealth management at JPMorgan. There's JPMorgan quote unquote wealth management, which is garbage and sucks. And then there's JPMorgan private bank, which is for the real significant rich people. So those JPMorgan private bank folks have had access to Bitcoin ETFs for, 6 to 9 months at this point. So now they're giving access to, lower capital intensive type clients, under the 5 million mark that do business with JPMorgan. So Always an interesting, commentary from Jamie Dimon. But again, it's watch what they do, not what they say, because they've had their fingers on Bitcoin for a significant amount of time. It's just, okay, who else do we allow to be involved with this after we've made enough money?
I mean, Paget, at the end of the day, they're just going to always do what they can to make money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you got JPMorgan, like they have JPMorgan coin, right, that they use for settlements. They settled a tokenized transaction last week for the first. I mean, JPMorgan is so deep in crypto, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But still opening this to their clients is a big deal, right, Paget?
Yeah, I think, it just shows we're trending in the right direction. That sentiment 180 from Jamie at the top, being one of the most, intelligent, influential investors globally, right? It means something. So, yes, they have had access before. Yes, they have been involved and are making money in this asset class, but now saying that they're going to give access to more. So I think Andrew's right. Let's see what they do, but definitely, awesome to see and excited to have him say it so publicly.
I guess it'll be interesting to see how much demand there actually is from JPMorgan clients, and if those JPMorgan clients who wanted Bitcoin exposure already found it elsewhere.
Yeah,
The thing that I find laughable here anyway, it's like if you have a JPMorgan account for whatever,
Yeah.
and like you were dying to buy a Bitcoin ETF, you probably just like opened an E-Trade account or called Schwab or whoever else would allow you to do it, right? Yeah, I can't imagine there's people sitting in Vanguard who are like, I just can't wait for Vanguard to finally allow me permission to get Bitcoin exposure.
No. It's fairly well known in the world of wealth management that JP Morgan is not good at wealth management. And here's the reason why. They have an enormous amount of proprietary product, right? So they do all sorts of JP Morgan branded stuff that they will first put into your account before anything else. That is still a real thing at JP Morgan. And it's why branding still matters no matter where you are. JP Morgan is a huge brand, and people instinctively believe if they're at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, my money's safe. Well, that allows them to create less than type of product, and people scoop it up and eat it up, whereas they would be better off using Vanguard type products. So JP Morgan just remains an interesting bellwether associated with the movement that we're in digital assets and wealth management overall, and the place that Bitcoin is taking in that traditional world, because it can't be ignored. I mean, we're at the point now where I think BlackRock is now second, just behind Satoshi in total Bitcoin underneath their IBIT brand. They passed Binance, I think, and they're I think one of the Bloomberg ETF guys put out a little chart today that they're the only one they have to pass now is Satoshi's wallet.
Easy.
Yeah, so
they're gonna pass that easy. I don't say that sarcastically. There's only one direction for these things over time, not the band.
Yeah. It's so JP Morgan is an interesting headline. Jamie Dimon is an interesting headline. They just built this huge building and it's got diamonds all over the outside of it in terms of its architecture, surprisingly. So the guy's ego is bigger than most, but still interesting when he talks about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, right, the traditional banks are slow movers. So hopefully we see more momentum here and more to follow.
Yeah, like I said, it's inevitable. Vanguard may actually just hold out indefinitely. That would not surprise me, just because they made such a stink about it. But Jamie Dimon, even in all of his dismissiveness, always said, listen, I don't think smoking is good, but I believe people should be able to smoke, right? But he literally said that, right? Yeah. But he's always said, we're going to do what our customers demand. That's our business. Maybe more interesting to talk about how this is meaningful because of just how powerful they are. I mean, Paget, right before the show, we were saying, hey, we could talk about tariffs and how, Bitcoin is kind of decoupled to some degree. But interestingly, he was one of the louder voices when the tariffs were announced, and there were some meaningful changes after he may or may not have had some meetings with the administration, right? So these guys are powerful, really powerful.
Definitely. I mean, I think, again, he's one of the most influential investors globally speaking. And so coming out and making this statement and opening up the rails for their clients, is in the right direction. I think, it's like moving a cruise ship. Takes time, but lots on board.
And norovirus. Everybody gets sick on those things. I wouldn't go on one of those for money.
Bring in the negative. It's okay, Scott.
It's fine. I mean, I like what you said. I just, cruise ships, they give me like the serious.
Never been on one, I will say. So just an analogy there.
Yeah, you're right. Just don't go on one. So listen, Jamie, can we call Jamie Dimon Jim?
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to do a segue to another Jim who is always right and is obviously in our favor. It's Jim Kramer. Just in, Jim Kramer says, buy Bitcoin to hedge excess government debt.
Yeah,
how screwed are we?
Yeah, let's ignore that he's 2 to 3 years behind this particular narrative, right? So, to hedge excess government debt. When Larry Fink was orange pilled, 18 to 24 months ago, that was his, beginning trope, is that Bitcoin at minimum is a great hedge against, do governments get out of control? So Jim, that's not good. That's not great. That's not great. I mean, Jim,
wrong a lot.
Yeah, being pro Bitcoin, it just feels, when we're sitting at, near the highs, heading into the Bitcoin conference, Jim, just don't say anything. Don't say anything.
I know we have this like sentiment that price always goes down during the Bitcoin conference, right? Like it's always kind of bad.
Yeah.
Last year it didn't.
Yeah. I think I was gonna say, I don't know that that's factually true. I remember being there like in 21 and it was brutal because that was when it was like way up, way down through the summer. And it was like in June and we had just gone off a cliff from like 65 to 35 in a week. So, but maybe they get the unfair sentiment from that.
I remember in Miami, they had a big board, and at that point, I think this was 22 actually. They had a big board with the price, and it was in the 43, 44, 45, down to 42. The next day you walked in, it was 41. So
it was just
it was not. He was not fantastic, but
to be fair, every person who was ever going to buy Bitcoin in size on the planet at that point in time was there. Drunk.
You may need to start incorporating some Booyah buttons and trackers as we head to Vegas next week.
I have this thing.
Oh boy, that is outstanding.
Yeah, I forgot that I had that until you literally said it. There's a few of them here. They're pretty funny. Their buttons. So let's talk about though that decoupling, right? So we didn't really get into it, but obviously markets have done well. But Bitcoin, as I've kind of said, performed like a great hedge fund since Liberation Day, right? It's outperformed to the downside, which is what you want from your hedge fund, but then actually outperformed to the upside as well. As much as we've cheered the V-shaped recovery in stocks and tech doing well, yeah, they got back to where they started and slightly above. Bitcoin was at 82. It's at 104, 105. I mean, wildly outperforming everything, both to the downside and upside. Incredible price action to see. I don't know if we can like extrapolate. I mean, from the Gemini perspective, Paget, what does that look like to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you hit the nail on the head. Bitcoin has held up relatively well, particularly in comparison to some of the other assets. I think, right, we touched 107 on Sunday. And so, I think generally we're seeing Bitcoin finally come through as a unique asset. It's showing strength in the past month. And so I think, regardless of the Bitcoin conference next week, sky's the limit. I think from a Gemini perspective, continuing to see high volumes, lots of activity come through. Obviously, those price points and all-time high weekly close last week was fantastic. I would ask you guys, where do you see Bitcoin going next week and kind of trailing into the summer here?
Scott, give us your thoughts, my friend.
Honestly, I'm a contrarian here. I loved the idea of the highest daily and weekly close, and I'm not bearish, guys, ever. It's a time frame thing. To me, I started to feel that like peak irrational euphoria on a Sunday pump when it's just like some company bought a bunch and nobody else was in the market. And technically, to me, it looks like we should go down a bit here first. But then, if I had to make a prediction, I'd say we're like somewhere in the mid 90s during the Bitcoin conference just to keep everybody measured. And then we probably fly again, I don't know, into summer or after summer. Summer always sucks too. It's even in the best part of the cycle, summer always sucks.
Yeah, there's the concept of sell in May and go away still exists. And given that Bitcoin continues to be more and more of an asset that's integrated with traditional finance, you're going to see some of that, especially when we're at 104, 105, 106, over the past 24 hours. There's going to be a percentage, a subsection of money managers involved in the asset. They're going to say, all right, we're up 35% since the lows 45 days ago. Maybe I should chisel off some here and, spend some time in Montauk, over the next 3 months.
I don't feel like people are so excited about the macro still, even though stocks are up. To me, it just feels like there's still so much uncertainty. Like one more headline that like China decided not to talk this week. And
my guess is that there's going to be enough announcements at the Bitcoin conference associated with additional treasury companies. There's going to be an announcement or two associated with, a Bitcoin balance sheet, 5% or 10% of treasury is going to be, put into Bitcoin. I think those things are going to happen. That'll be meaningful to price, but could we be at 95 in a week from now? Could we be at, 107 to 115 a week from now? Sure.
For all I know, man.
Yeah, sure we could be. But you're right. Could there be a pullback, a healthy pullback after a 35% run up? Absolutely. And again, it's all in context, right? So a 5% or a 10% move in Bitcoin now is a significant actual hard dollar number as opposed to when it's at 41, right? That hard dollar number is very, very different. So a 10% move is down into the 90s in a significant way right now. Yeah. As opposed to before, if you're at 47 and you go down 10%, you're still in the 40s, right? You're still in the 40s. It's not this emotional trigger point under 100K. So those percentage numbers in terms of hard dollars get bigger and bigger. It's why when traditional markets like that, the Dow is down 1,000 points today or up 1,000 points. That's not as big of a deal as it was when the Dow was at 17,000. Right?
$1,000 Bitcoin move is not even 1% anymore.
No,
I'm old enough to remember 4,000 to 3,000 being like it's literally over.
Yeah. So the game has changed a little bit here, and price movement. When we go from 109 to 116, everybody on crypto Twitter is going to be losing their mind. But traditional asset managers are going to be like, "Oh, we're up 3.5%. That's a good day. Well done. Well done, new asset."
I think I agree with you both. I think the uncertainty is still here. The 90-day, cool off China US tariff period right now. I think we could see more activity closer to that coming up, right? That 90-day mark coming up. But we'll see what happens, right? Do we continue with a trade war? Is there some sort of truce?
Let's talk about the Paget. Have you heard rumor? Have you heard rumor of what the big announcements will be in Vegas? Andrew, I think kind of touched on them, but we know this is the place. I literally wrote a newsletter about it yesterday, just saying, hey, man, everything changes in a week because we know there's going to be something, right? Bukele's announcement was at the Bitcoin conference in 2021. This is where we get all the big news. You got JD Vance, a couple Trumps, bunch of world leaders going to be there. Certainly all the politicians. There's got to be there's going to be 3 or 4 of these huge things. Doesn't mean price will move, but we should see some.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. Yeah, I think there's a lot circulating, and you're exactly right. There's a lot from a political standpoint who are going to be, on the ground and have speaking spots. So there must be some sort of announcement. What they are exactly, I am not sure. Waiting to see.
Andrew, you have hints.
Yeah, so there's a reason why Robinhood's CEO is going to be speaking at the Bitcoin conference, right?
You mean with me in the Arch Public room on Tuesday at 4 p.m.?
That's absolutely true. That'll be a more important speech.
Not saying that I just arranged that
today. But there's a reason why certain, if you look through the speaking bubbles that they have on the website, you're going to find some interesting folks that may have some things to say that could be compelling, whether it's public companies or not. There will be some announcements. It is interesting that Nakamoto is now the
Sponsor.
the title sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So someone will be a title sponsor. So there are going to be some announcements. The scale of those announcements, not sure. But all you have to do is, follow David Bailey's, Twitter handle to know that they have to cook up something, right? And it's got to be relatively large. Last year, the fact that Trump showed up again still blows my mind.
Last year was
but
wild.
but he wasn't even, he wasn't president at this point. Now we have a sitting vice president that's going to be at the Bitcoin conference.
And Elon Musk was supposed to be on stage with him, and then they got in a tiff with the conference about whether it was going to be a fireside or he was going to be next to him or behind him, in front of him. And Elon's plane touched down and then took back off. Do you guys remember any of this?
Yes,
it was insane.
Yeah. Nashville, honestly, Nashville wasn't well prepared to handle the scale of all of that.
Is. Now they're ready. Yeah. I mean, Vegas, the Secret Service, it's wild.
Yeah. Vegas is going to be able to handle the scale. Yeah, it's going to be huge. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up with 50,000 people in total over the 3 days. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Crazy. Just to tie in on the Tesla piece as well, Gemini's got some exciting Vegas events as well. We announced yesterday we're actually going to be giving away 2 Cybertrucks. So that should be pretty fun commotion. A good Bitcoin orange Cybertruck, pertaining to our credit card campaign. So just to tie in kind of Tesla and Elon, and obviously our founders, Cameron and Tyler, will be there as well. So there's a lot going on.
Hey, Andrew, is this an appropriate time to ask Paget if we can get Tyler and Cameron for an interview next week?
Don't worry, it's already been asked. We'll let you know about that one soon.
I mean, you can tell them that Vlad's coming over.
Yeah, they're working on it internally. I get plenty. I get enough corporate speak with Paget and folks from Gemini. I don't need it on this show. Okay,
our people will call your people. It's working through the motion. So listen, I know, Pat, you got to go pretty soon, but there is another really interesting story here that I think is worth discussing because you actually see the volume and the price action probably on your side. Bitcoin ETF inflows surge as basis trade nears 9%, signaling renewed demand. Investor confidence rises as Bitcoin holds above 100,000 and basis trade yields approach 9%, drawing strong institutional interest. We've talked about this a million times for everyone. But what that means is you basically buy spot Bitcoin or you buy an ETF. In this case, it's been IBIT across the board. And if you're wondering why IBIT is getting 70, 80% of the volume, it's because it has options on it. And this is the one people trust for this trade. But 9% annualized by shorting the futures and just simply buying spot is double what it was even a month ago. So we saw this trade being huge. Then we saw it unwind because it got less attractive. Now it's huge again. So if you're wondering why we're seeing these kind of insane, it's not here, but insane inflows, that's probably the reason for the huge bump there.
Well, there's, I can speak to the fact that hedge funds still exist, and this is what they do, right? I mean, they arbitrage volatile assets, and they find really creative ways to do that. And so whether it's options, whether it's the price difference between futures and spot, think about that, when futures opened on Sunday, right? One could make the case that not only was there a whale and Binance and some stuff going on Sunday, but also you had futures pop to the upside very, very quickly at 6 p.m. on Sunday. And again, that there are forces at work here that will do 2 things. I think in the short to middle term, it will, serve to push Bitcoin significantly higher. And that's options, futures. There's lots of stuff being built around and volumes starting to really explode around Bitcoin, right? On the edges. And a lot of people like to call it paper Bitcoin. Well, paper anything can push a spot asset commodity significantly higher. It can also push it lower. So be careful what you wish for, right? But this isn't going away. This will grow. Options and futures volumes will significantly grow over the next 9 months. The question is, how does spot Bitcoin respond to it? what movements in the price will actually happen. A reminder that, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, oil actually traded negative. That was weird. So point being is that when we get in this spot where the ancillary versions of the commodity are it's where all the volume is. We're getting close, by the way, with Bitcoin. Wild movements can still happen.
Paget.
Yeah, I think really interesting for sure. Seeing a lot of activity on the spot side. I mean, plug for Arch and the dollar cost averaging capabilities that are capable via that algo, right? And why people want to use it and what's attractive. I think, we're seeing a lot of activity through Gemini's, OTC desk and our trading team and offerings there as well. But yeah, I think generally, exciting to kind of have that activity. I think, regardless of an ETF or not, we're seeing so much spot directly through the Gemini platform, obviously, as well. And so all positive momentum, I think, across the board.
Quickly, talk to me a little bit about the OTC desk. Is that how the larger institutions actually participate in a trade like this?
Yeah, so Gemini's got 2 OTC kind of options available. We've got a voice OTC desk and traders globally. And so placing those on your behalf and being able to, execute a TWAP or whatever it may be outside of the exchange as well. And then we've got an EOTC, an electronic over-the-counter solution as well that allows for an intraday credit line net end of day settlement. So obviously a lot of ability there to not have to have fully pre-funded for those trades to go through.
Yeah, there's this idea that OTC trades don't really affect price. Is that true to any degree? Obviously, if you threw a couple million on the exchange and bought on the open market, it'd be different, but they definitely affect price in my
in your humble opinion.
Yes, in my humble opinion. Andrew's laughing at us. So you think they do affect price, Andrew? Is that what you're saying?
I'm reminded of a 90s skit on SNL where Sandler, the only answer he gives on the Jeopardy is, who are the marketing geniuses that came up with this one, right?
Yeah,
and so that's my response to OTC doesn't really affect price. Like, wow. Yeah, I mean, there are people that are really smart in the space, and then there are those that think that. And so, yeah.
Dude, I think Kramer is behind you.
Yeah,
literally, I can see Kramer moving.
There he is.
Come on, man! You could put literally anything on TV. Put Pulp Fiction on.
Oh God!
What are you doing?
Again, a reminder that the scale of the Bitcoin ecosystem, the growth is going to be something to behold 2 and 3 years from now. Our conversations about it will be significantly different 24 months from now because of the opportunity associated with volatility and the ability for Wall Street to profit from a new volatile asset versus everything else that's fairly commoditized in terms of pricing. So they can charge a premium for products and for the movement of that product right now in ways that they can't on gold or S&P, whatever it happens to be. All of that stuff is essentially the same price across all of Wall Street. That's not the case and won't be the case for a while on Bitcoin, which is why the asset class itself and then all of the ancillary things that are built around it will explode over the next 2 to 3 years.
Andrew, I gotta say, you've got devil on your shoulder over there, Kramer. We had Elon pop in. I'm getting a little distracted.
Yeah.
We need someone to offset it on your other shoulder.
Exactly. Balance. We're gonna start playing with that TV, have a split screen, and see what we can do with it.
Paget, do you have 2 more minutes, or do you need to go?
Yeah. I can stay on.
There's one more story we got to talk about, which is obviously this Genius Act passing cloture, which is a word they made up last week. I'm convinced that. Never heard that word before. It's either really fancy close or closure, and I don't know which one it is. Cloture, for sure. But crypto industry cheers progress in historic stablecoin legislation as Senate advances Genius Act. So, of course, everybody cheered that they had passed it, but that's because people are dumb. They didn't pass it. They basically passed the right to debate it and then think about passing it. But still, this was very much in question a week ago. Now at least we've made progress, but I think still not out of the woods, right?
Yeah, not fully complete yet, right? But I think generally speaking, getting to the next step here, making it onto the floor. And I think generally speaking, right, it's just showing, maturity in the regulatory landscape right now. So trending in the right direction, I think will push more institutional growth, hopefully, but not conclusive yet.
Gemini is a stable coin.
We do.
You guys have to be watching this very closely.
They also listed the Ripple stablecoin
We
about a week
did.
and a half ago. Yes, they did.
That's the other story. We didn't even bring it up, but it says Ripple and Coinbase informally in discussions to buy Circle or USDC, which is interesting because Circle is supposed to be going public. But I guess one of those could just buy it and keep it private. Must be nice to just be like, let's buy that.
Well, Circle is smart enough to be involved in these conversations because their IPO would be suboptimal, given that they give away like a large portion of their revenue to Coinbase.
I was gonna say, isn't Coinbase basically already owned Circle?
Yeah, they are. Ripple's just making it interesting would be the commentary there. Here's the thing, again, about the next 18 months associated with just crypto overall. The amount of capital that's going to flow into the space is going to be extraordinary. Why? Because the capital markets have opened up to crypto in general. And what does that mean? Well, Galaxy just had an IPO. We've got Nakamoto now. There's going to be a significant amount of IPOs that happen in the space. And that just means that those organizations are flush with cash, like big time flush with cash, and another currency, which is their now public company and those shares, right? So the amount of M&A that's going to happen in the space is going to be whiplash type stuff. It's going to happen like crazy. So this is just a little precursor to what's going to happen at large, over the next 18 months in the space, for sure.
Yeah, next is going to be Gemini buys Coinbase and Ripple. Tell the twins to call me, man. I've got ideas.
You realize there's like a PR Gemini person like on the other side of the camera for Paget being like, you can't say anything. You can't comment on that.
Giggle, smile. You're never going on this show again. I'm sorry. Smile.
Oh gosh. Well, look forward to seeing you both in Vegas next week. Yeah, exactly. Keep this in check, gentlemen. But truly, look forward to Vegas next week. I think we're going to see some exciting announcements across the board. Obviously, look forward to being with both of you, and kind of follow up from there and see. We'll probably have some exciting things to report back on.
Yeah,
awesome. Can't wait. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be huge. Andrew's actually going for a Ripple conference, not actually for Bitcoin Vegas, but
totally on brand for me. Completely on brand.
It is. I told him it was probably at Circus or like the Palace Station Casino with $1 craps off the strip, but I knew I'd get in trouble with the XRP people, so I can't say that out loud. Listen, I did not at all get in trouble with Charles Hoskinson and the Cardano people yesterday at all. Had some tweets.
Every day, some
apologies. Yeah. Every day.
Well, Scott, as a journalist, you need to be.
I'm just a dude with
right down the middle.
Just a dude with a channel. Anyways, Paget, thank you so much. We will see you next week. Everybody, give her a follow down below. It's right there in the description, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye, Paget. Thank you. I'm getting in so much trouble lately.
Yeah, so Paget's fantastic. Gemini does a great job, but it is interesting, in these moments to talk about stuff and to see what she will and will not talk about.
I'm not trying to like put people on the spot. I do. I want to make them really uncomfortable. Actually, she's lovely. It's just like we've been asking. Just want to talk. Well, sit down with those guys. Talk about history with Mark Zuckerberg, things they like.
Yeah, right. It's a double-edged sword. Gemini does a great job in terms of, when you work with them, when you're a customer with them, when you custody with them, you're in a good spot, right? Because you're effectively custodying with the Winklevoss twins and their Bitcoin. But at the same time, they're in a position where they're heading towards an IPO. So they keep things pretty tight there over there from a messaging standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah. You know who doesn't keep things tight from a messaging standpoint?
Yeah, that's right.
My segues are on point today.
They are. They absolutely are.
Listen, Bitcoin yield algorithm, the numbers tell the story. 20% APY, 25% CAGR, COGR.
Yeah, we're going to be all over the Bitcoin conference. We're sponsors of the whole whale experience, whale lounge, whale stage, all of that stuff. I mean, if you have a whale pass, you'll be sitting on our logo or even on the seats in the whale lounge. So we're going to be everywhere. And for us, the conversation is going to be about Bitcoin yield because there's several ways to go about it. We think the conversation is going to push there as products are built around Bitcoin. But most of that conversation is going to be about giving up custody of Bitcoin, giving it up to a third party, even if it's a bank, right? So banks can now custody Bitcoin. You're going to give it up to them for some sort of yield. That's not what we do. We don't want custody of your Bitcoin. We don't want you to give it up. We don't want you to lend it. We don't want you to leverage it. Bitcoin volatility gives you the ability to create yield in a very significant way without having to give up custody. And that's kind of the whole point of that post is over the last 4 years, our Bitcoin yield algorithm has been able to produce plus 20% in annualized yield and give you a 25% CAGR. Whereas currently, over that same 4-year period, if you just buy and hold, that number is 16%. So, we get asked all the time, well, what if I just buy and hold? Again, buy and hold is the way that Wall Street wants you to do things because it makes things simple and you don't outperform them. The ability to use technology that doesn't exist anywhere else is institutional in nature and is making trades for you while you sleep at 2 a.m, at 5 a.m. John Deaton's done a great job of talking about things that are happening throughout the day when he's in a deposition or when he's in court or when he's dropping off his daughter at school. And our algorithms are executing trades at levels that are just simply extraordinary. We take a look at a Bitcoin chart and our algorithm, our arbitrage algorithm, exited a small trade up at 107.
I got that.
And so, take a look at our arbitrage algorithm. It's 2.23x long bias, meaning that every time a purchase is made, that you're buying significantly more Bitcoin than anytime a sale is executed. So yeah, there it is. So currently our algorithms support Bitcoin, Sol, XRP, and Ethereum. So there's the exit, right? So Sunday evening, the market's going crazy. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows what's going on. Are you as an individual sitting in front of your screen saying, well, I know what's going on, and I'm going to exit at the top of this green candle going to the upside at 107? The answer is no, you can't do that. Of course you can't.
I mean, I could.
And so two things are really important. Yeah, two things are really important. One, this is institutional tech that you can't find anywhere else other than Arch Public. Two, because we believe in this tech so much, we give it to you for free. So if you want to try it before you buy it, or if you're in a position where you can only use 10 grand per year to use our products, you can use it for free forever. But if you want to use it at scale, if you want to use it at real scale, talk to us. We have different levels of scale that you can use on an annualized basis.
Dude, there are dudes who are popping like 400 trades in a day using instances.
It is. Yeah, we have people that, on Sunday are like 13 trades happened, right? One of our customers, told his wife, hey, we just made $3 grand in cash because the algorithm while they were eating dinner on Sunday. So it's really cool to watch. We have corporations engaged that want to do Bitcoin balance sheet, treasury type stuff, they have to have a plan, right? Like they can't just say, hey, we're going to talk to our board next week and we're just going to smash by at 105. That's not how it works. You have to have a plan. So we do that for corporations. We do it for RIAs. Just give people access to a tool that gives them some set of rules and some set of circumstances that they can then use and use in the way that they want. So again, these tools, they're not just point and click type tools, right? So certainly we have case studies and certainly we have certain types of settings where people can just use those and the results are the results. That's why we put out case studies. But the truth of the matter is that you can get in there and turn all those dials. It's user driven and it's connected to TradingView. So if you want to say, well, what if I do this? Or what if I do that? Or what if I do this here or change this? TradingView is going to show you, well, this is what would have happened in the last year. This is what would have happened in the last 4 years. This is what would have happened in the last week. It's going to show you those results and you can dial that in any way that you want. People that get involved with us, almost every week they find a new layer. They're like, wow, I didn't know it did this. Wow, I didn't know it did this. Wow, I didn't know I could use Solana volatility, grab cash yield and put it back into Bitcoin. And now I'm using another asset to build my Bitcoin stack. Like it's pretty extraordinary stuff. People love it. And we're going to be talking about it like crazy at the Bitcoin conference in Vegas.
Yeah, let's talk. So let's talk about the Andrew experience, the Tillman experience that is going to be happening in Vegas. You mentioned that obviously sponsoring all of the whale experiences, but there's this area, if I'm not wrong, right? You showed me that. It's called the Deep.
That's right.
Whales
right.
swimming.
That's
whales
right. That's whale stuff.
In the deep, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, though, whales, they have to breathe at the surface. I'm sure they whatever.
Yeah. Archer's going to have a private suite there, and Scott is going to be joining us. And the what I would call the intimate conversations that we're going to be having with Scott and with some pretty unique guests. Scott can talk about that. It's going to be extraordinary.
So far we've got Caitlin and John.
I've
only done some, it all happens, but Vlad, CEO of Robinhood. We got Jack Mallers.
Yes. Yep. That's great.
There's some others that I'm working on. I've only casually worked on it thus far because I'm me, and I'll make the plan like a day before. But it's gonna be awesome. And those will be like recorded, obviously, for a podcast and distribution, but also available only to the people in that room who can listen to it while we're recording it.
So again, in the room, the experience is going to be, you got 25, 50 people that are in there. You're going to be rubbing shoulders again with the likes of Scott. First of all,
don't touch my shoulders. I get COVID at every single conference. Don't touch.
Second of all, Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood, Jack Mallers, Caitlin Long, John Deaton. These are extraordinary thought leaders and folks that have done exceptional stuff in the world of Bitcoin and finance overall. You're going to have the ability to have some back and forth with these folks. We're going to do some Q&A stuff. And then on top of that, we're going to have an open bar in that space.
What?
We've got a couple of waitresses.
Terrible idea. Let's do that. My interviews are going to be so much better by 5 p.m.
We even are doing a thing where, like for Vlad's talk, we're going to have a specialized drink that will be color coded for Robinhood's colors, right? Caitlin Long, when she's there, you can imagine that the drink that we're going to be serving there will be very orange, right? So we're going to do some really unique and fun stuff. And so interact with us, interact with the people that we have relationships with. Scott's going to be there. It's going to be an exceptional.
Who won the tickets? Tickets?
Oh yeah, we got to. Okay, so we'll announce.
I just remembered that.
Yeah, we'll announce the winners later today, and you can send it.
Tweet it. Can I do the tweeting?
Yeah, you can.
Did I just put us on the spot for fucking?
Yeah, you did. No. It was a good reminder. We've already.
Can you have Tyler call me? Come on, man.
Yeah, there are some circumstances there. I mean, Gemini
I've
has
been waiting for I just want to be like a short guy between two trees having a conversation. It's normal. I've interviewed everybody in this space. I've interacted with them on but I've just never. It's just never happened with those guys. Them and supposed to do Brian Armstrong in June, but that's it. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, these are my unicorns I'm chasing.
Well, I have a good feeling that we may be able to pull it off at the Bitcoin conference. They will be in close proximity to Arch Public's suite, and so
it's gonna tackle them.
Yeah, come find us. We have some really cool stuff going on there. We have an extraordinary giveaway that we're doing at the Bitcoin conference in the whale space. I can't talk about that because it's
orange Cybertrucks. No,
it's not. It's not Cybertrucks from us. And yeah, you know, it's people that end up doing business with us and being involved with us. They're pleasantly surprised at.
I have an important question. I may be flying, so I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm coming Monday or Tuesday, but are we gonna do this show from Vegas at 6 o'clock in the morning?
100% yes. I mean, 100% yes. Of course we are. How can we not? Right?
Well, I mean, we're committed. If I'm flying, it'll be a problem. But if I come,
it would be a problem.
I will wake my ass up super early and we'll do this. I was like, wait, what we're talking about is literally like during right now in a week.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. It's early though.
Yeah. Come find us at the Bitcoin conference. You won't regret it.
Yeah, we'll see you there. And as you can see there, Arch Public, I got it here. Wait, you gotta do the thing. Arch Public guys, like, no, you know, it just works.
It does. It works.
It just works. Everyone who's done it is super happy. There's literally thousands of people running this thing on Gemini. No complaints. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, people that joined in March and April, they were making purchases at 74, 77, 79, 81. And we're now at, 104 and going lower. But either way.
Way lower, like probably like 10.
Shout out.
That's all we got for you today. Dude, just, you know, Cameron, I know you're watching. Call me.
That's right.
Let's do this.
All right, man.
Take the bannery thing off and do the thing and whatever. Dude, Andrew's great show as usual. Love having Paget on. She's awesome. Somebody said she looked like Princess Kate. I never thought about that. But a little bit. I saw that in the comments. I could see that. Anyways, come find all three of us next week. We'll be there. Later, man. Thank you.